spoken to Glenn. Jeff is the next one in line, but he's left to get an hit off the bike and what have you there. He will be back, there's no doubt about that. He did say that earlier on anyway. Well, the WX here, as I was telling Jeff earlier on, we had a heavy shower just after 8 o'clock when I was eating my breakfast. And it really tipped it down for a short period and then it disappeared again. So it's that sort of day we're going to have, it seems anyway. I'll give you a signal report, Mike, on your next over there. But if Jeff is not there, you pick it up. GW3U to S, MW0CBD.
No, he's obviously not back yet. Are you, Jeff? No, from GW4XSX returning to the group. Well, I was up to Cummins when that first bit of rain came, and I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to get soaked, but it went off as quick as it came on, but it didn't have to come down, because they gave me a false report last night, because they told me it wasn't going to rain properly until 10 o'clock. But anyway, it's stopped here now, but it was raining when I came back about 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. But it stopped again now, so we got the main lot coming at about 10 o'clock, I think. And then I don't think it's going to stop then for a while. So, not very good. There we are. I got to fix some lights on a Land Rover per chap today, so I think I should probably try and do that in between showers. On to you, Glenn, from GW4XSX with the poles.
Yeah, okay, GW0JI. Well, it's chucking it down. You're absolutely slinging it down at the moment. In fact, I'm just trying to think, is there hailstones in it? It's absolutely bucketing down, so there we are. Let's hope it'll empty the sky and get it over with. And, well, you're S9, no problem at all. Mike, you're just slightly stronger than well. I wonder if your aerial's still laying on the ground. They might want half of it, because if it is, it's not working too badly this morning anyway. And Jeff with his usual strong signal, so there we are. So everybody's copyable this morning. Somewhere a moment. Sorry about that. Frog in me throat. What else? Well, I was going to tell you something, but I can't remember what it was. I read the email off Jeff yesterday, and I think you were the same way by the sound of it, with the picture of the exercise device. It looks absolutely brilliant, doesn't it? A real professional job, that. So there we are. Right, back to you there, Will, with a pause in case Jeff is back there, from GW0JI.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, good. I'll pass it to you next now, Jeff. Okay, well, everybody was at 5 and 9 to start with, and then everybody's gone down to 5 and 7. So I don't know what the reason, conditions that is, must be. But Jeff, you were 5-9 plus anyway when you started. I'm not sure on what you came back on the last over there. But it's odd how quickly things drop down. But everybody's a good copy. On 5 and 7, there's no problem as far as that goes. And it's flattening the noise level here as well. Okay, as regards to the rain there with you, Mike, it's queer how it crops up in some places and not in others. As I said, we had a heavy shower earlier on, but wait and see what happens. No, I don't think there's much we can do about that one anyway. Not much news. The Royal Welsh Day is on his last day today, so it's amazing how quick the 4 days have gone by, really, and what the crowd crowd numbers have been. I haven't heard nothing as far as that goes, whether they're up or down. I should think they're up, because most of the people have stolen some of the harvest, because it's silage making nowadays, isn't it, and not hay as they used to be. Anyway, on to you, Jeff. GW3UZS on the group, MW0CBD.
Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, Will, very good morning, Mike and Will. Only heard the tail end of you, Mike, Glyn. Just the word or two right at the end. Anyway, fine. And And thanks for the email back from Irene. And you can see what I've done. The yellow frame thing is the cart I made for the caravan, but not required anymore now because we don't have the caravan. But I made it as an attachment to that. All it is, I put a little stub on the frame of it and pushed it into the seat holder on the bike. So it just goes on as a seat holder. It goes into the socket where the seat went in on the bike. And just mounted, took the handlebars off, took all of that off, and I used the brake as a bit of loading on the wheel. And it works quite well. And the only thing I've cut up on the bike really are the pedal, the foot pedals. I trimmed the side of them and put a bit of water pipe, shrinked a bit of water pipe. I heated up a water pipe and pushed it over the top. So I've got handlebars to pedals sort of thing. Anyway, over to you, Mike, I think. With your permission, Will. I don't know if there's anybody else there. GW3UZS.
Yeah, I think it's Will, isn't it?
Oh, Will passed it to me.
Yeah, you take it, Mike. It's your turn, and I'm Glenn.
Right, yes, I'm getting confused. I'm easily confused. Yes, I was interested in that email, Jeff. It really was. And you're doing the best you can do for Enid with that problem. But there we are. Anyway, I'm hoping that will improve her movement in her arm, because I know you've improved her movement in her feet, in her legs. So that's good. Excellent stuff. And it looks quite an ingenious way of doing it. It's a typical of you doing finding things to fit to do the job. There we are. Well, it's stopped raining here, so it looks like you've got our rain there, Glenn. And well, the temperature's gone up to 15 now here, so it's not too bad, I suppose, for considering how dull the day is. There we are. Anyway, everybody's a good signal with me this morning. It's a change, isn't it? It was struggling, but 2 meters wasn't good this morning. I was fading out on Glyn. I think even when I put the underwater linear on, it didn't help a tremendous amount, I don't think. So there we are. Right to you, Glyn. And I wonder what the bang was. Have you checked Irene? She hasn't blown herself up in the kitchen or something. From GW4X6, over.
No, she's up on the computer here. So it's not anything done in the kitchen. No, I think I discovered I've got a little metal dustbin underneath the bench here. Stainless steel dustbin. And the lid on it wasn't sitting down squarely. I think it just sort of dropped into position. I think that's all it was, but it was quite a clang. Worried for a moment. I thought there was lightning about or something. And Jeff, yes, congratulations on the device, the exercise device. It does look very, very professionally done, and that's the advantage. I suppose we're all in the same boat to an extent. We're all mechanical and electrically minded, aren't we? And we can do things for ourselves. Because I mean, the thing is, you'd never buy a thing that does the job quite as good as what you made there, because you were able to tailor it individually to Enid, and that's really what you need. It's something that is dedicated to the job. Anyway, the rain is easy enough here now. It's just a gentle shower now, but for a while it was absolutely slinging it down here, and maybe that's why the signal started to fade off a bit, Mike. Yeah, 2 meters this morning. Jeff, we have a laugh, Mike and me, that the wind is blowing the signal about, because it's quite strange, really. If you watch the bar graph meter on this rig, it's going from end to end like a windscreen wiper. And Mike is going from S9 down to nothing this morning and back again, as steady as a steady, regular beat back and forth up and down the band. And couldn't tell any difference with the audio when he put a bit of power on. It was going from nothing up to 9, but you couldn't, if you weren't watching the meter, you wouldn't have known. And I know that my aerial doesn't sway. Mike's might be a bit because of where he is there, but I reckon it's probably wind blowing the trees around, isn't it, swaying, and that's sort of doing weird and wonderful things to the signal. So I can only explain it that way. Well, you mentioned the Royal Welsh Show. There's a lad from Montgomery gone missing, and the latest I've heard, they haven't found him yet. He's been missing now a couple of days. He was last seen in the pub, or one of the pubs down in Belfast, and he hasn't been seen since. So let's hope that works out a happy result, because it's a bit worrying, isn't it? But there we are. Anyway, it's back to you, Will, from GW0JI.
Yeah, with a pause there, nobody else came in. GW0JI and the group MW0CBD. Anybody else for the net? Over? No, nothing heard. Well, the signal your signal has gone up to 5 and 9 now again, Glenn. And Jeff, you're well over on you're up to about 20 over with me this morning. So the massive signals and good to hear them. So see the reports so strong on the meter, because you flatten all the noise that comes in. So that's good. Okay, yes, something odd about that youngster missing from the Royal Welsh, but whatever, hope for the best, but things don't look very good, do they, at the moment? So let's hope that things will work out the right way around and not the other way. But time will tell anyway. Yeah, okay, as regards to the job you've done there to adapt that tray, I saw that one with you down in when we were down in Lan, of course. If you remember, you brought it down to show it. Oh dear, this cough is still niggling around here, but I've made another appointment to see the medics, and that won't be till next week, so whatever happens in the meantime, I don't know. Hope it clears and not gets worse. Right then. Back to you, Jeff, from MW0CBD.
Okay, fine. Let me switch that off. All okay, and fine copy. I didn't hear anybody else call in there. Maybe I came in a bit too quickly, I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, well, there we are. You make these things to suit. The only thing, I suppose, the loading I've got on it is the old brake. I've adapted the old brake to give a little bit of friction on the brake side of the wheel, then, you know, the calipers. I've tightened those just a little bit to make a bit of a brake on there, but it's not ideal. I'd like to, it'd be nice if I had a magnetic brake on there, and I have thoughts maybe I'll disable, well, I don't need to disable the freewheel, but maybe disabling the freewheel, maybe weld the freewheel together would maybe a bit of help, but there we are. It's something I've been looking for, was a small bike, you know. I had this in mind for quite some time, and there we are, it's done now. Been on 20 this morning and on 40. Worked 1 VK on 40 this morning. Yeah, 1 VK. A VK I haven't worked before, really, and which is odd. VK3CML, Charlie Mike Lima. And I haven't worked him before. On 20, I don't think I've worked him before anyway. Not according, I do log calls for sort of 20 and 40 DX calls, then put it that way. And then I worked Botswana down in Africa on 20 meters. Not very strong, but he was there okay. So that's all I've done this morning. Not a lot else to report that I can think of, and I'll probably sign on the next over. Thanks for the report, Will, and a nice signal from you as well. Over to Mike then. beg pardon, GW4XSX, GW3UZS.
GW0GI. Yes, okay. Would you want to take it over, Steve, and then give it back to me, over?
Yeah, I think you passed out to me as somebody else. Yeah, good morning, GW0GI. Just a quick call in. Say hello. Off to Anglesey in the morning to ready for the IOTA contest. So just to say hello hello this morning and say if you see us as GW6 Whiskey, Golf Whiskey 6 Whiskey on at the weekend on CW and SSB 80 to 10 metres, we're going to be operating from Holyhead Breakwater. So that's the only news from this end, with the Dragon Radio Club and the Pembrokeshire Contest Club jointly running IOTA multi-single. So 3 or 4 of us operating with my big spider beam up, hopefully, if the wind is kind to us tomorrow morning when we're erecting antennas on Holyhead Breakwater, EU 124, Europe 124, Holy Island. On GW0G, I'm not sure it is taking it.
Yes, okay, Steve. Well, you're not very strong with me this morning, Steve, but a very good morning to you. Good to hear you. Well, good luck in the contest, the weekend. And you can't be in a nicer place than Anglesey. We went there a month ago, and absolutely fantastic. Hang on, let me switch that 2 meters off. But there we are. Anyway, good luck with that one. We will have a listen. Find Jeff on 20 meters. Well, I'm envious because I can't work South Africa at all, anything down that way, because of this damn bank behind me. But because I used to have a couple of stations I used to work regular down in ZL2s, you know, but there we go. Anyway, can't be helped. With that, I put the aerial on the top of this bank, and I don't think it'd be there very long. I think Will would have it in his garden in a very short time. There you go. Anyway, on to you, Glenn, from GW4XSX, over.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, and morning to you there, Steve. Steve, you're 15 over 9. Mike, on that one, you were 15 over 9. Jeff, well, you're 20 over 9 and a bit more, so we have good signals coming in this morning. Now the rain has stopped. So there we are. And Jeff, you were saying about putting a bit of a load on the exercise bike there. There was a fella, Don Watson, what was it called? GW3RJY. And Don, he rigged up an exercise bike for himself, and he put a generator on it. There was a belt driving a little generator, and he would alter the load by putting more load on the generator, switching in more lamps and things. So he'd sit there pedaling and lighting a lamp. So it's I suppose a simple way of magnetic braking, really, isn't it? And maybe you could get added charging some batteries or something, HI. So there we are. Fine on the VK, fine on Botswana. Funny enough, I've never done much down into Africa. I've done into Morocco and that area on top band, and down to South Africa itself on 15 meters, but never much in Africa, you know, for the rest of Africa. Maybe I've not been around at the right times of day, but I've never done much down in that direction. And by the way, you'll be pleased to know I've got this thorn under my finger at long last. It took a bit of digging at, but I got it from there. It was really a little thorn off a briar from doing the hedge in the garden the other day, but by gum it was catching now and again. Steve, I noticed GW6W, yeah, I've noted that down. Breakwater at Holyhead there. Oh, there we are. I haven't been through there this year. Last year I was through there, of course, going to Ireland. But this year we sailed from Fishguard, so I haven't been up to Holyhead this year. I was up there last year, though. Right, with that, it's back round to the well, isn't it, from GW0JI?
Yeah, GW0JI on the group MW0CBD. Put it on, Steve. Nice to hear you there. Good signal. I can't give you a report because I didn't look at the meter, but you're perfectly strong here anyway. A good signal as far as that goes. When your turn comes next time, I will make note of it. But Glenn, you've gone down again on that over. It's odd, isn't it? How things work out. But never mind, you're perfectly readable. There's no problems as regards to that. And it's good to hear everybody with a clear signal. Anyway, I'll pass it on to you, Jeff. That will save my bit of my throat there. GW3UCS MW0CBD.
Golf Tango Echo for you, Jeff.
Yeah, okay, fine. And GW4GT as well. Very good morning to you, Dave. And good morning, GW0GEI. Good morning to you, Steve. Nice signals. No problem at all. And if you want, Dave, I'll QSY or something and have a brief chat with you. I was going to make this one a final, but I'll QSY down a bit and find you a couple of 3 or 4 kcs or 5 kcs down or something. If there's a clear frequency, I didn't look just now.
I don't know. I just took the reciprocal of it and thought.
I was going to have a word with you. I wanted to have some thoughts on something, so I need to have a brief chat. Anyway, okay, Mike, about Botswana and that sort of thing. And let's see, 3740. Okay, Dave, I'll go down on 3740 in a minute and catch you there. Thanks for the comments all round, and best of luck with the trip up to North Wales, Steve. And I'm not sure who's to take it at the moment. Mike,
yeah, I'm thinking.
Yeah, Roger. Well, while you're thinking, I'll carry on because it's crazy, isn't it? I suppose it's there just because it's possible, but I got a feeling it might be quite a few years. The actual, not the wavelength, but the actual cycle time. Anyhow, I think everybody's fallen in love with batteries. I think that's the problem, and I don't necessarily think that batteries in 20 years' time. I don't necessarily think that batteries will be where everything's going. At the moment, they're the in thing, aren't they? Battery-powered cars. But I think hydrogen's the technology to go for, and I think maybe that might, in 10, 15 years' time, everybody be saying, oh, what happened to batteries? We've all got these little hydrogen fuel cells now, the size of a sixpence. And they fit inside everything and also inside your car, and everybody's running on hydrogen. Either that, or as you say, Frank, we need the flux capacitor from Back to the Future, and or as you say, Peter, a bicycle or a horse and cart. G0GSR in the group, M0SBZ.
I wouldn't mind a donkey, G0GSR. 11 and a half days I work it out to, a million seconds. I've been a bit preoccupied and making mistakes with this silly on-screen calculator. I hate on-screen calculators. They're nothing like as good as a one proper calculator with buttons, are they? I always seem to make mistakes with them. But a micro hurts. I don't know how I'm going to live without that, Dave. I'm going to have to buy one of those. MW0GYV in the group, G0GSR.
You're going to need an awfully wide scope to see the cycle on it, aren't you? Yeah, I started working out. Rushed down from a calculator. Said, did you say 11.57403773 days?
Oh no, Peter, it was 0.574070741.
I've only got a simple MT801 Mark II Citizen calculator with a built-in rechargeable battery. I think the answer to your car problem is to, instead of running off batteries, why not strap a motor and engine to the top and generate power through a generator? There you are, M0SBZ MW0GYV. Let's make it a steam engine.
Yeah, or wind power. Have a big sail. Have a big sail on a pole in the middle of the car, and then use wind power directly, just like sailing up and down the river. Oh dear. Actually, Frank, you joke about those signal generators. I was very tempted. As I was reading all the specs, I got all excited and thinking, oh, look, I could really put my scope through its paces if I had one of these wonderful arbitrary signal function generators. And then I thought to myself, but I would never, ever use it. I've got 3 different signal generators. They're not really function generators, but I was sorely tempted, Frank. G0GSR, M0SBZ in the group.
G0GSR. Well, the only one I really need is the sine wave generator. I've got a Farnell sine oscillator. I think it will do a square wave as well, but don't really use it very much on the square wave. And I think you can get them for about 40 quid second hand. They're really old now, but they're good and they're low distortion. The function generator is not actually that good, or even though it will do all these silly frequencies like 3 millihertz. The distortions are not actually that good. So if you try to use it to measure an audio amplifier for distortion, they always read a certain level, and it's due to the generator. Whereas my cheap and cheerful little Farnell sine square wave oscillator is very low distortion, and but that'll do me. It uses the bead thermistor, Dave. I'm sure you remember the little tiny bead thermistors for stabilization. You can't get them anymore, unfortunately. MW0GYV in the group, G0GSR.
Oh, can you not? I got some. Wonder where I got them from. Are you sure, Frank?
They don't make them anymore, Peter.
Good God. Then, okay. Shall I be? Yeah, I'm just wondering how precise your, what was the precision of this 1 microhertz generator, and what would happen if your wife switched the kettle on halfway through a cycle. So there we go. M0SBZ, MW0GYV.
Well, MW0GYV, G0GSR, M0SBZ returning. Well, according to the specification, they're accurate to 1 part per million. So, yeah, they are. I mean, I was sorely tempted, I must admit. But to the point where I've actually dug out my old analog frequency generator, which, like yours, Frank, relies on sort of old technology and produces really beautiful sine waves. And it's got an FM input, so I can sweep it, but I have to have another external oscillator to sweep the frequency. As regards to bead thermistors, well, interesting you should mention those, because the very first expander and compressor system that I built actually used those, and it was a sort of a passive system whereby depending on the amount of power going through, depended on the input resistance to an amplifier, and it changed the gain of the amplifier that way. So, but it was horrendously slow, of course. But it did actually act as a compressor. And then if you put it, And then if you put the thermistor in the feedback loop, it acted as a expander, or vice versa. I can't remember which now. But that was quite interesting. And then, of course, I moved on to DBX and their clever RMS level detection and so on. But now, of course, we've both got the DB Maxes, which I'm sure uses all sorts of different. In fact, I've got a feeling that the DB Maxes use a variety of different signal rectifying techniques to establish the gain, Frank. So maybe you read the book a bit more than I did. G0GSR in the group, M0SBZ.
No, I haven't read the book, Dave. Last resort, G0GSR. It's all different if it's done digitally anyway. You can't really compare the two. It's just numbers, isn't it? And different ways to measure them and what have you. But yeah, I think was it an R53, this thermistor? That sort of rings a bell. And it's the simplest way you can make a sine wave oscillator, because it's used in the feedback path of an op-amp, and it stabilizes the output nicely. Even I noticed this on my little generator. If you change the frequency, you do get a slight wobble on the amplitude up and down just for a fraction of a second while this thing stabilizes its temperature. Sounds very, very crude, but they do work extremely well. And if you can get one nowadays, you pay a fortune for it, Peter. I think I've seen them for about 10 quid on eBay, or maybe even more, because they're getting a bit scarce. And even the ones you can get have probably been used by somebody else before, so you don't know whether they've been damaged or not. So easy to damage those little things. But yeah, I think I'm okay for test gear at the moment. I keep looking at various things, and all the crap I've got, I could get rid of some. Actually, I've got a couple of things which I don't need. I've got a bench digital multimeter, which is, I think it's quite a nice one, 4.5 digits with an LED display. Dug it out yesterday. It works, but it's just another one of the things that doesn't get needed. I've also got a spare function generator as well, which goes up to about 2 megs, which that will do its own sweep, actually. It's got an internal sweep generator, and that will do a frequency counter as well. But it's only a fairly cheap thing. It's nothing expensive, but that's another thing that sits in the corner and don't get used very often. MW0GYV in the group, G0GSR.
Well, I've got a new question for you. When do babies start recognising things? My little granddaughter was brought down yesterday because she was crying and she couldn't be settled. So Mum brought her around. She took one look at me in my pink top. Put indoors and I had her on my lap. So she was in my arms, head cradled in my thing. She's a wriggly little thing, but constantly moving about. Likes her head rubbed, likes the side of her face tickled. Doesn't like Mom tickling her mouth. Cries when she does that. She weighs 9 pounds 9 ounces, and she was looking everywhere, squirming around, but cross-eyed. The left eye was actually looking inwards, more sort of behind the nose, if you can get my drift. So she's still not quite focusing yet. I don't think they do that for another week. She's 5 weeks and a bit old. So I wonder when she's going to realise who I am and probably bawl at me then. Anyway, she didn't ask after the water pistol yet. So I haven't got to buy another one of those. I've only got 2 at the moment. But so she was on my lap from about, I don't know, 1:30 till about nearly 3 o'clock, I think. And like I say, wriggly, but not. She didn't bawl once. And then Mum had to go then. So we were waiting. Edwin had gone out, so she missed the treat. M0SBZ. Oh, and she's got quite a good frequency range. M0SBZ, MW0GYV.
Yeah, Roger, MW0GYV, M0SBZ returning to the group, trying to talk too fast. Well, they recognise breasts quite early on, don't they? That's, in fact, I think they recognise everything with their mouths initially, because they can't see properly, or even if they do see, it's all upside down and back to front. But babies as soon as you give a baby anything, it will put it straight up to its mouth, and then they recognise, that that's a brick or a brick, or a toy train, or mother's breast, and we all know which one they prefer out of those. But it'd be interesting if I had a baby. I'd be doing experiments on it in the kitchen, trying to find out how high it can hear, Peter. I wonder if you can do that, if you've got an oscillator or something, and try and see if it can hear above 20k, Peter. What do you reckon, Frank? G0GSR in the group, M0SBZ.
I reckon it's a good job you don't have any kids, Dave. G0GSR fading nicely now. Yes, good job you don't have kids. Yeah, I suppose kids do have extremely good high-frequency hearing, but it's getting the information out of them that's the problem, isn't it? But I suppose if you think about what goes on in the human brain, you said the eyes don't focus, Peter, but maybe the autofocus doesn't quite work yet, but the brain has got to start building up its picture of things it remembers, doesn't it, and the shapes it recognises and what they're associated with. And it must take a fair while for it to get a sort of library of photographs that it's memorised, that it knows what they are. I suppose that's what's happening very slowly, and kids learn at an incredible rate, don't they? But I wonder whether babies do have a hearing up to 25, 30k. Perhaps you could do an experiment for us, Peter. W0GYV in the group, G0GSR.
I've made a note to figure out an experiment. She's already had a hearing test because Joe's has a bit problem with her hearing. Alex doesn't, but Dad. But she had a hearing test pretty early on, and apparently she was, given the thumbs up. So I don't know how they did it. I wasn't there. And but anyway, she passed that. And she certainly recognises Mum. There's no question about that. She recognises Mum. But when we carried her upstairs we carried her inside in the carry cot thing from the pram, left that downstairs, took her out downstairs, and as we carried her up, our house is quite interesting. We've got high ceilings and wooden ceilings and plasterboard ceilings and sort of different kinds of shades on the big windows and stuff. and her head was squirming from side to side, so she was having a good look around. And then when I sat down, she saw my pink top, which I'm wearing again today, and she obviously liked the pink. She likes the cat purring, apparently. The cat purrs and she likes that. And she likes Dad's deep voice. Daddy's over 6 foot, like maybe. He's a big fella, and he's got a fairly deep voice. So she likes that. And she quite likes the vacuum cleaner. They've got one of these, it's a Dyson lithium battery powered, rechargeable thing, but it's really with one of these very high speed motors, and that really whines. The cat hates it, the cat runs away, but the baby actually likes that. What she doesn't like is sharp sounds, like explosions, Dave. M0SBZ, MW0GYV.
Right, MW0GYV, M0SBZ returning to the group. Well, yes, I would be certainly doing tests with hearing with a loudspeaker. I wouldn't try headphones or anything. Don't put any loud noises near our ears. But I would certainly be switching things on and off. I remember my first hearing test when I was at primary school. The doctor turned up, and basically everybody had to queue up in their underwear for some reason. And you walked into the headmaster's office, and there was the doctor and a nurse, and they would look down your underpants and up your nose and in your eyes, and then the doctor actually said something to me. She said, "Face forward," and then she said something, and I turned round and said, "Oh, pardon?" And she said, "Are you deaf?" So that was the hearing test. I remember it vividly because, and then they had an old-fashioned alarm clock with a big tick, and basically they would move this ticking clock further and further away from your ears, and you were meant to tell them when you couldn't hear it. Well, I couldn't hear it to start with, let alone when they moved it away from my ears. Oh dear. And I forget what they said. I think they said nerve damage or something. It was probably, it may even have been fixable in today's modern times. But so I started off with poor hearing, and it's been downhill ever since. G0GSR in the group, M0SBZ.
G0GSR, I like that one, Dave. Are you deaf? Okay, you're not. But this hearing test for babies, Peter, I just had a quick Google, and it's actually quite technical. But there are two of them, and they put sensors on the baby's scalp, and they measure the baby's brainwave activity in response to little clicking sounds that are transmitted through small headphones. And I'm reading that. And there's a second test as well, but it said that they can even do that even if the baby is sleeping, because they're just measuring the electrical impulses, and that's the baby's hearing test. So that's quite clever, isn't it? I suppose babies and things, they've got these built-in reactions, haven't they, reflexes that preserve life, basically. And I suppose the sharp sounds could indicate danger, so they want to be aware of those and stay away from them, etc. But the hearing test is actually quite interesting. It would be difficult to get a physical response out of a baby unless you can make them turn their head. But this thing just seems to be actually quite good. I was just wondering how valid it is. Whether it really does prove that a child has no hearing loss simply by detecting these impulses. MW0GYV in the group, G0GSR.
Was that a good idea to mention a new testing apparatus with Dave in earshot there, Frank? Maybe you have to get one. You're not borrowing my granddaughter for testing. You have to find your own baby. And as for, present yourself to the headmaster's office in your underpants, I'll be very suspicious of that, especially if I was down the playing field at the time. M0SBZ MW0GYV.
Yeah, boys and girls. Girls are in their navy knickers, and the boys are in their underwear. I think the girls had their vests on, and but we were all queuing up. There were the whole school was queued up, and it was like a medical, and it happened. I think they did it about once a year, and you're only in there for about 5 minutes, and you're all sort of marched through. And I don't know why I think they used the headmaster's office because it was the most comfortable office, and the doctor could sit in a big sort of comfortable chair. But as regards to testing babies, well, yes, I shall have to get one of my own. They're easy to make, aren't they, babies? But I don't know whether I can wait that long to do the test, Frank. G0GSR, M0SBZ in the group.
No, they can be extremely easy to make, unfortunately. G0GSR. Yes, I remember the school medicals as well. I don't remember ever having a hearing test, though. But they used to do eye test regularly and look inside your mouth with one of these mirrors that they dipped into disinfectant just before they stuck it in your mouth. And then they dipped it in disinfectant and straight in the next person's mouth. Never quite liked that very much. But, yeah, well, I suppose if you want a baby, Dave, you don't have to involve a woman. You can either buy one or you could adopt one. So, you know, if you really wanted one, the possibilities are there, but you may fail when they ask you what you actually want the baby for, Dave. MW0GYV in the group, G0GSR.
Seems harmless to me. I mean, if you want to do tests on a baby, oh dear, you can do a lot worse, can't you? And I've written down positive. I meant to say it before. Oh yeah, well, first of all, I presume that was not in the grammar school. I presume that those was in somewhat younger years. But we used to have the nurse. We used to have the knit nurse, and then she used to look for nits and fleas. And we had I think we had the dentist come in. They used to look at our teeth. And I got sent off to the opticians when I was in the grammar school because I was looking at the board. I couldn't read the board properly, and I used to look through a little hole I'd bored through my wooden ruler with a pair of dividers, compasses. You know, they pin on the end of the compasses. That was really to spin it round, wasn't it? But I used the hole to focus the board, pinhole camera, and I found that was short-sighted. Yeah, I could read my book, but I couldn't read the board. So there we go. I've written positive feedback down here because negative feedback's not always a good idea, is it? I mean, it's great on an amplifier, but when it comes to a baby, negative feedback's not a good idea because it tends to make a mess on you and cry and be sick all over you. But positive feedback, when it grins, that's very nice. M0SBZ, MW0GYV.
Yeah, Roger, MW0GYV. In the group, M0SBZ returning. Well, I once heard a baby described as an alimentary canal with a big loud noise at one end and a total lack of control at the other. So, and I think that's my idea of babies. And, of course, the doting parents and grandparents always think babies look beautiful, but to be quite honest, when they're first born, they look a bit like a pickled walnut, don't they? So I'm sure you think your grandchildren are beautiful, Peter, and I'm sure they are, really. Do you remember, apart from navy knickers, which I've got on my brain now, I can't get the image of all those girls in navy knickers out of my brain, but what I do remember is NHS orange juice. I remember my mum, we used to walk to, I think it was called a health centre, and we used to get this orange juice. It was concentrated orange juice, and it came in a little bottle with a blue cap on, and it was ever so strong. You'd dilute it with pints of water, but it was provided on the NHS, and I remember walking with my mother. Now, I must have been just about starting school, so 5 years old, maybe even younger, and we used to walk to this health centre, and they used to do, I think it was like a postnatal clinic or something, and they used to provide her with a free bottle of this super concentrated orange juice. It didn't taste very nice, but fresh orange juice, and in fact even oranges were only at Christmas time when I was a boy. Luxury, as the sketch goes. G0GSR, M0SBZ in the group.
Does anyone get the impression that we're struggling with some subject to talk about today? G0GSR. Yes, Dave, I remember that. Remember the NHS orange juice, and like you, I've got exactly the same memory. Walking to, we used to call it the clinic, and must have been before I started school. So I must have been about 4, and walking to pick up these bottles of orange juice that, like you say, they were very, very dark orange, very concentrated. and sort of rectangular shaped, fairly tall bottle with a very narrow neck. And I seem to remember they may have had a cork in the top as well, but it is going back just a few years. But that's one of the other things that you don't get now on the NHS. I suppose it was just to ensure that you kids get the right amount of vitamin C. I always used to look forward to my school milk as well, and that's gone a long time ago, hasn't it? That was something that we all had, I presume. MW0GYV in the group G0GSR.
Oh, certainly. We used to like to get to school early, especially in the winter, because it was delivered by the milkman in, I think they were 1/3 of a pint bottles, weren't they? And if it was very, very cold, then the top would freeze and push the lid off. And then we could have the ice cream before we went into school. We always got in trouble for that. But yeah, I remember that. Orange juice tasted horrible. Did you have the SMA? Is it milk powder? I think it was milk powder, wasn't it? SMA? And it came in a big tin with a removable lid. I can remember those because I'm sure my granddad used to collect them because he was a big fisherman and he used to put some holes in the top with a nail or something to make it breathable. Then he'd keep his maggots in the tin, and he used to keep the maggots in the bathroom. The bathroom was a downstairs bathroom next to the kitchen because the house was built in the 30s. And I have memories now of going into this thing to find the right tin of maggots. Because if you got the one from last week, there's a good chance they'd pupated. And if you were unlucky and you opened it, then the flies would come out covered in flies. Do you remember that? Did you have any experiences like that, Dave? M0SPZ, MW0GYV.
Yeah, MW0GYV in the group M0SPZ. I missed a little bit of that. I got maggots in the bathroom, and that's I don't quite maggots in the bathroom. I guess they were stored for fishing, Peter, were they, Break?
Yes, for fishing. My granddad particularly was a big angler. So was my dad for that matter, but he used to keep in the shed outside.
Yeah, right. So, well, what was the bathroom bit? Maggots in the bathroom, go ahead.
Oh, well, my granddad used to go to the fishing tackle shop, and or even to the abattoir, and he'd buy a pint of maggots, and then he'd store them in the old SMA milk cans. Did you not do things like that?
Yeah, but you mentioned bathroom, Peter. I heard it all, but you mentioned your bathroom, and I heard maggots in bathroom. Go ahead.
Well, my granddad wasn't allowed to keep the tin of maggots in the kitchen, so he used to put them in the bathroom, under the bath. It was an old bath with feet on it, like a Victorian, like these posh ones they have today, except it was old. And the bathroom was adjacent to the kitchen on the ground floor because, well, there was no water upstairs, actually no water, no electricity. This was an old house made in 1930. And the maggots were kept under the bath, and they pupate, and of course they turn into flies, and sometimes they got forgotten because you'd have half a dozen of these damn things under the bath. M0SPZ.
Yeah, Roger. Well, well, it sounds to me like your grandfather's house might be worse than mine. I certainly haven't got any maggots in my house, that's for sure. Although my kitchen is, as you both know, doubles up as a workshop. Right. Well, that's intriguing. I used to go fishing, but when I was quite young. Must have been, I don't know, in my very early teens, 12, 13, 14, we used to bike all the way down to Bourbon, which is on the Grand Union Canal, and then take sandwiches and a flask of tea or something, and we used to sit there all day with our little floats in the canal. And driving home, or rather driving, but pedalling home on my push bike, I could see this float in my mind's eye. A bit like, if you stare at the sun inadvertently, you'll forever see the sun. Well, I used to be so intently looking at this float all day long, I could see it. Every time I shut my eyes, I could see this float. And we never used to catch much, just little, I think they were called gudgeon, some little fish. Occasionally I caught a bream and roach. There were quite a few roach in the canals as well. But I was never a great fisherman. I just didn't have the patience, really. I mean, some of these fishermen, when they go carp fishing, they set up and wait for weeks, don't they? They take a tent And, if they get a couple of bites in a week, they're quite happy. Because, of course, when they pull the thing in, it's a huge, great fish, and not the little sort of tiddlers that we used to have. But I think the expense of maggots stopped us fishing like they do today. I mean, when they fish today, they throw bucketfuls of maggots in, don't they? A handful at a time. Well, of course, we only had a handful of maggots to last us all day. So that was probably the technique has changed. G0GSR in the group, M0SPZ.
G0GSR. I'll never realise what the fascination with fishing is. It just looks extremely pointless to me. Unless you're going to catch something you can eat, I can see the point then. But to catch little fish and throw them back, no, I don't fancy it at all. I do remember those tins, Peter, those dried milk tins. I must have been brought up on them, to be honest, because we had quite a collection of them. They were national dried milk, and they were a very tall tin, probably about 2 litre sort of capacity, and black and white, I think, printing on them. And they were extremely useful for storing screws and nuts and bolts and things. They were much bigger than a normal tin with a fairly close-fitting lid. And we used to have a few of those with nuts and bolts and screws. I remember as a kid I was quite amused by these things. I would tip this thing out and it would be full of little screws and nuts and bolts and things. And I was interested in that kind of thing from quite an early age. I suppose that should have warned me what was going to happen in later life. But I don't know. We really need something else to discuss this morning. I think we've done the electric car thing. We don't really know what's going to happen with that, but really there's only a certain amount of reminiscing you can do before people stop listening to us and go and listen to people talking about G5RVs. MW0GYV in the group, G0GSR.
What kind of car is that then? Never heard of a G5RV. The SM18. I remember those being huge things, but I think that's because I was very young. I thought they were blue and sort of silvery colour, but you could be right, Frank, about being black. My dad had quite a few of them in his shed, and that was in the third house we lived in. And same thing happened there. I used to go in the shed to look for perhaps some nails or some screws to make a soapbox cart or something. And you have to be careful not to undo the wrong tin because the maggots would fall out. But none of them were labelled. None of his tins were labelled. And the thing I remember about that shed is that he had one of the old brass blow lamps. Actually, I've got it upstairs here in the attic, and that fascinated me. I could never get it working, but I could spray the paraffin out of it. I could never get it light because I didn't realise you had to preheat it with a meth. Like a ring used to put around the top to heat up the tube at the very top. And there was also an old battery in there, which my brother managed to knock over. And the acid came out and it dissolved the floor of the shed in this council house. Oh, we had an adjacent to the shed. It was like an outhouse, brick outhouse with a flat roof, and you had the shed at the end by the garden, and then you had a coal shed, and we had coke in there. We had a local gasworks. My dad used to get coke, and then there was an outside toilet, and that was really cold, horrible, and smelly. So this house would have been built probably. Well, I know when it was built because we moved into it when I was about 6 or 7, so mid-50s, and we were surrounded by other buildings as well. And I can remember very much. Well, first of all, I went to it once, and then I was expected to go to school from the one house, which was a bachelor estate it was, and then this other house on Greenland's estate was on the other side of town. And I went to school in the morning, and I was expected to find my own way to the house in the evening. And I can still remember trying to find the final turn-off in the estate to find Sheldon Road. And I didn't remember there was one road. You had to turn past what was the doctor's surgery, and then turn right, and then miss Landor Road, miss out that road, and go up to Sheldon Road. And I only remembered it because there were no houses built opposite yet, but they were being built when we lived there. And do you remember the Thorpes lorries, Phorpes, Phorpes They used to deliver the bricks from London Brick down your way, Dave. They used to come in the morning, early. All the bricks were packed in straw. They weren't strapped up in blocks in those days. And they used to be offloaded by the labourers. And you find great piles of bricks all stacked up, which were great for making dens. Very dangerous, but great fun. M0SBZ, MW0GYV.
No, I don't remember that. What was the name of that truck again?
Forbes. They were the big 8-wheeler, is it Leyland trucks? The big 8-wheeler trucks, flatbed truck.
What was the name?
And the company was named Forbes. Papa Hotel Oscar Romeo Papa Echo Sierra. I wonder if you remember those.
Spell it again. Papa Hotel.
Papa Hotel Oscar Romeo Papa Echo Sierra.
No, never heard of that manufacturer. Was that the people that actually manufactured the truck, Roger?
No, it's a Leyland 8-wheeler truck, and they were flatbed trucks.
So who was the Forbes people?
I think it was Forbes Bricks, and they were from sort of Bedford area, because most of the bricks in our area didn't come from Birmingham. They came from sort of Northampton, Bedford, down your way, where all the brickworks are.
Yeah, Roger. Well, we've got Bedford Brick Company is the only one that I remember, and I forget was it. There was a place called Brick Hill, I think, and in fact there still is a place called Brick Hill, but whether they made bricks there or not, I don't know. But the Bedford Brick Company used to have a lot of brickworks on the way into Bedford. I think it's the clay, wasn't it, that this area that area was good for, but they didn't half used to smell. Whenever you went past the brickworks, it was pretty nasty smell. Anyhow, tomorrow I want to it's a bit early to start this subject today, but I'm troubled by audio beat frequencies. I'm not convinced that they actually exist, and yet I can hear them. So maybe that's a subject for tomorrow. Unlike sidebands, which are genuinely there, I think audio beat frequencies aren't strictly there. Anyhow, that's another subject, and maybe we can talk about that tomorrow. G0GSR in the group, M0SBZ.
That sounds interesting, Dave. G0GSR. Well, do you want to leave it till tomorrow, or shall I just ignore what you just said, Dave? Over?
Well, yeah, ignore it. No. Well, if you mix two, let's say you've got a 1 kilohertz tone, and you mix it with mix now. Now, I don't mean modulate. I mean just linearly mix them together with a let's say 1K and a 1,500 tone. You hear 1,000. 1,500 and 500. But I don't think the 500 is an actual frequency, Roger.
No, I noticed this as well, Dave. I think it's common to everybody. Excuse me a sec. You can also do mixing as well, can't you? If you put two frequencies which are very similar together and add them together, not mix them together like you said, you can actually hear the very low frequency beats as they there's a slight difference in frequency between them. I think that's fairly common in everybody, Dave, but if you're suffering from it, I wonder whether yours is worse for whatever reason due to whatever hearing impairment you may have. But it's quite easy to do. You can make some signals in Audacity and feed them in one ear, feed one in left ear and the other in the right ear, and listen to them beating in the middle. But I've done that quite often. It does actually work quite well. But whether you want to leave it till tomorrow, I don't know what more we can say about that, Dave. I wonder whether Peter knows anything about audible intermodulation within the brain or the ears. Sounds good, doesn't it? MW0GYV in the group G0GSR.
Sounds really good, but I made a mistake with the spelling. I've just looked online, and it's Forpress. It's PHORPRES, apparently. And it's London Brick. So flattened bricks from London Brick. And again, that's fairly close to you, isn't it, Dave? So been to many of these brick sites. But You must have known about it, because the London Brick started over a century ago, and just after the war, in the rebuilding phase, and this is probably why they were so common everywhere. They made up to 16 million bricks per day. Can you believe that? So that's why there's lots of holes in Bedfordshire. M0SBZ, MW0GYV.
Yeah, Roger, Roger. Yeah, London Brick Company. I was mistaken. Not the Bedford Brick Company. It's the London. It was. It's probably still there, or bits of it are still there. Peter, MW0GYV with G0GSR, M0SBZ returning. Yeah, when I say troubled, I meant troubled intellectually, Frank, rather than physically troubled, because in fact, if you put two frequencies together that are quite a distance apart, you can actually get it's not just a beat frequency any longer, it actually produces a tone that you can hear, whereas I think if you were to see those two frequencies on a spectrum analyzer, you wouldn't see the sub-generated tone, Roger?
Yes, I understand, Dave, G0GSR. It's the same thing though, isn't it? It's still intermodulation, and I think it is occurring maybe in the brain or the ears themselves. I don't know what the explanation for it is. Maybe a little bit of research is called for, Dave. Over.
Yeah, Roger. Well, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to do some experiments with standard audio mixing, linear mixing, and then I should do some experiments. And this is all audio frequencies now, rather than RF. And then I should do some experiments with amplitude modulation to generate both upper and lower sideband. You see, my theory is that although the beat frequency could be considered to be a lower sideband, so let's say you're mixing 1 kilohertz and 1 kilohertz, 1.2 kilohertz, you could say, well, I can see a lower sideband at 200 hertz. Whereas it doesn't physically exist, it's just a consequence of the other two frequencies. Whereas if you're modulating the two together, the both upper and lower sideband physically exist, Frank, Roger?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean, Dave, and I have heard it myself. I've done sort of tests on my own hearing using two different tones, and you can hear the intermodulation, but I think quantifying it is going to be a bit difficult as to how loud is the intermodulation, Dave? Over.
Yeah, Roger. Well, I'm going to do some tests and play about. Gives me a good use to put the scope to, but it'll probably be more Audacity oriented than scope. Anyhow, so there we go. It's coming up to coffee time. So sort of a reminiscent type of QSO this morning. Maybe we can get a bit technical tomorrow. G0GSR in the group, M0SBZ.
Could be boring, couldn't it? Yeah. London Brick made enough bricks. They reckon that a third of the houses built in the UK at one stage were made from London bricks. So, and four press, this is four press, because they were pressed four ways, and it's their trademark. So all the London bricks that I can remember had LBC inside. I found a brick. You've got LBC inside the frog, isn't it? And four press. But it's spelled PHORPRES. There we go. So what we did do with 16 million bricks today. Oh, you build houses. Perhaps they should use all of those sites now that they've been filled in for landfill, and you're not allowed to put any more rubbish into the landfill. Perhaps they should start building power stations so that they're close to where most people live in the UK, and then we'll have less problems distributing the power to all these electric cars they're going to plug into the lampposts all the way down the road. Oh dear. Never mind. I still enjoyed the chat, and I don't mind reminiscing at all. Go from one thing to another. It's good for the old brain cells. So until the next time, Dave and Frank, I shall say 73. And my baby was hiccuping a lot yesterday, so she was a dual frequency baby yesterday. M0SBZ, MW0GYV.
Yes, okay, Peter. MW0GYV with G0GSR, M0SBZ returning for the final. Okay, guys. Yeah, nice to chat again. I've got some things to do and uses for the scope, so quite looking forward to that. Cheerio to all the Web SDR listeners, Daz and Baz, and who else have we got? Mark was there a little bit early on. David's there as well. So very good. A very good morning to you all. And I'll put it round to you, Frank, to say cheerio. G0GSR in the group, M0SBZ.
G0GSR. I just wanted to talk about Peter's brass blow lamp. Never mind, press that for another day. Okay, cheers guys, thanks for the contact. I've got some fresh bread, so I'm going to have that now. And a nice cup of coffee. And then I've got a horrible job today. I've got to repair this laptop, which has got a broken touch screen and a broken keyboard, both of which have now arrived. So I've got no excuse not to start trying to mend it. So I'm not really looking forward to that at all. Cheers for now, and to the other WebSDR guys, have a nice day from G0GSR.
Yeah, 73 everybody from MW0GYV.
That noise was on all the time, so I think you...
Well, but I caught in most of the things like that you were talking about. Yes, these old programs are on Radio 4 Extra in the morning.
And your area could be, at risk. It's all down, I think, to a dry summer.
Sort of storm, you can get quite a kick off, obviously a lethal kick potentially off the wire. I'm not a fan of spark gaps.